topic discussed heavily at Taylor is how we hold both grief and joy at the same time. How bad things happen to really good people. And so, in my own life personally, I've seen that walking through a cancer battle with my roommate. God does not ask us to choose between grief and joy, but invites us to bring our sorrow honestly to Him, receive His comfort, and still recognize the hope and the joy He gives in the middle of pain. So, as I mentioned, my roommate Stephanie is currently in her 4th battle with cancer, but yet one of the most joyous people that you will meet. So you see here, she had just found out after her 3rd battle that she was in remission. Not long later did we find out that there was another spot in her lung, just following a couple months after this photo was taken. But yet, in the midst of all of that, there's days where we cried and there's days where we laughed. And some of those days held both laughter and tears. It could be the difference of 5 minutes, and that's okay because both joy and grief got to be in the same room together. So while I've seen some of this pain close up, I know that we all carry similar things or different pains and hurts and sorrow. And so I went to look at David's life in the Bible of how he had really high victories of when he killed Goliath and he got to champion that with everyone and worship the Lord through that. And you saw his faith. But then in turn how he was hunted by Saul and he spent nights alone in a cave where he cried out to the Lord and said, "Lord, where are you?" So looking at this in Psalm 13, we see David say to the Lord, "How long, Lord, will you forget me forever? How long will you hide your face from me? How long must I wrestle with my thoughts? Day after day have my sorrows in my heart. How long will my enemy triumph over me? Look on me and answer, my Lord. Give light to my eyes, or I will sleep in death. And my enemy will say, I have overcome him. And my foes will rejoice when I fall. But I trust in your unfailing love, and my heart rejoices in your salvation. I will sing the Lord's praise, for he has been good to me." So you see here where David begins with saying, "How long, Lord?" But yet he ends with saying that I trust you. And I think this shows good tension between I trust you, Lord, and I have faith in you. And I can cry out to you and ask, "Lord, when are you going to free me of this?" And still, all in the same breath, all in the same tear-filled sentence, say, "I trust you, Lord." And so we get to see that in David's life, and we get to then see how having joy is not simply pretending. So David doesn't pretend that because he trusts the Lord, he's not still in the suffering. And I saw that in Stephanie, that her joy didn't mean that she wasn't suffering. Her joy didn't mean that she wasn't processing. But her joy meant that she knew that the Lord had a plan. She knew that the Lord would sustain her in whatever capacity that looked like. And so, in a non-biblical sense, we see this in Mayo Clinic, how they encourage support groups, or bereavement groups as they call it. And this is a space where people come together and they might all be battling the same thing. So whether that be a death of a loved one, cancer, something hard, whether that be an eating disorder, anything like that. So these people come into these groups and they just openly talk about them. And openly processing these things allow them to experience, while they might not be Christians, what some might call happiness or joy because they process their grief. And so I think that's why it's important to hold both at the same time, because yes, we have to process our grief. We have to go through the motions of feeling angry, of feeling sad, of feeling lost. But yet we have hope and we know that the Lord is good. And so in this graphic here, we'll see that when people attend a support group, 60% are then able to just process those things with their friends and family. And I think, especially at Taylor, we see that in the way that we get to come around our people as they struggle through different things, whether that be a breakup or hard things at home, but that we get to process that. So I think that's we get to see a heavy percentage of that 60%. However, 40% go on to need more help, because sometimes it is hard to grieve things, to process things, and to still find joy and happiness. And so just because you need more help doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you. 40% of people need to go on and have a little bit more help, which is completely normal. So I just want to encourage you that just because you're choosing to have faith doesn't mean that you aren't grieving or that you don't have joy, but that you trust the Lord, that He's going to sustain you and He's going to bring you out on the other side, whether that be earthly or heavenly, but that He is the ultimate answer and we get to be with Him forever.